Let's talk about the good news, the bad news, and why cruise prices might increase even more in the near future. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. We have a lot of news to talk about in today's video, starting with new cruise cancellations that were a little bit overshadowed by some new cruise plans or some new startups. We also have an update on Alaska cruises and new land options. We have breaking news with a potential upset for the Odyssey of the Seas. And we need to talk about something. Why cruise prices might increase even more than they have already, and it's not what you think. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like the video, if you find it helpful, informative in any way, then please do give it a big thumbs up. I appreciate it so much. And please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. So let's start with the bad news to just get that out of the way. We have some new cruise cancellations by Royal Caribbean, by Princess, and by P&O. However, all of these cancellations really opened up room for new sailings and new startups of cruises. Early this week, we heard from Royal Caribbean that the brand new Odyssey of the Seas is ready to set sail in the month of May from Haifa, Israel. Now, this is really a first for Israel as well as Royal Caribbean. This is going to be a fully vaccinated cruise in that all of the crew and all of the passengers that are over 16 years of age are going to be required to be vaccinated. Now, these 3 to 7 night sailings are going to be sailing from Haifa, Israel, for residents of Israel, and they're going to be sailing to the Greek Isles and to Cyprus. Now, unfortunately, this has meant as well that there are going to be cancellations of the Odyssey of the Seas that was going to be sailing in the Mediterranean. Now, I do have some breaking news for you. Will all of this good news actually be dampened? Now, I will explain to you a little bit more about the news that we have from the shipyard in Germany in just a couple of minutes. Now, Princess has canceled sailings that are from the UK up until September 25th on 3 ships, the Island Princess, the Sky Princess, and the Regal Princess. However, they have something else that they're planning, and that is some pretty good news for UK residents. So what they are working on is 3 to 7 night sailings that are going to be round trip from Southampton. And again, they're for UK residents only. And the idea of it is that once travel does open up, that people will be able to travel, hopefully within the UK. Now, more details are to come, Princess says, by the end of the month. Now, P&O did something similar as they modified their summer sailings to focus more on the UK rather than their international cruises. Now, unfortunately, this means more cancellations as well, but it also does mean more opportunities for residents of the UK. Now, P&O does say that they've been in close contact with the government about this, and hopefully we will have some more information about these sailings when they might start soon. Now let's look at some Alaska updates. Is Alaska cruising still possible? Yes, it is. And we also have some land options. So firstly, let's talk about Alaska cruising. So the Alaska Tourism Recovery Act was introduced into legislation. And basically what this act would do is circumvent the Passenger Vessel Services Act, which basically is that rule that cruises have to stop in a foreign port, that being Canada, if they were heading from Seattle, for instance, to Alaska. So this legislation in a nutshell is asking the government for a workaround, a temporary pause to the Passenger Vessel Services Act. The idea of the bill is that it would allow cruise ships to sail to Alaska and not stop in Canada. Now, this bill is proposed, it has not passed yet, and there are other things that local governments are trying as well. And it will be interesting to see what happens, because if this bill does pass, how does it affect the Canada-New England sailings for the New England portion? Please let me know your thoughts below if you think that it just might work. Now, do you think if you had an Alaska cruise book that instead you might like to do a land vacation instead? Well, Princess and Holland America, both who have large presences in Alaska for many, many, many years, they have lodges that they own there as well in the interior of Alaska. Well, what they are doing is they are going to be offering land vacations through Gray Line Alaska. Now, they're still going to have those safety protocols to make sure that passengers, that guests, as well as employees are safe and are kept healthy. Now, some of the land tours or excursions are very exciting. They include a tundra wilderness tour in Denali, where you can see grizzly bears and wolves and moose and caribou and sheep. As well, you have other tours that include a riverboat discovery excursion in Fairbanks and a glacier cruise near Anchorage. There are even more adventurous excursions if you like river rafting or flight seeing. Now let's talk about some good news and some potentially difficult news for Royal Caribbean. But first, the good news. Galveston, Texas is getting a brand new terminal to accommodate the 225,000-ton Allure of the Seas. It's the largest Royal Caribbean cruise ship to ever sail from the cruise port. Now, if you're interested, it will be sailing to the Western Caribbean, including Cozumel, Mexico, Costa Maya, Mexico, and Roatan, Honduras. Construction of the terminal is scheduled for April 2022, and it's due to be completed for the fall, and the cruises will start sailing in November 2022. Now we have breaking news that I want to share with you about the Odyssey of the Seas at the shipyard in Germany. Now this was recently reported in cruise industry news and from German news sources. It turns out that 2 workers from the shipyard have been diagnosed with this virus. Now they have been quarantined as well as their close contacts. However, the 500 or so crew and workers have been asked to stay aboard the ship. Now in itself, it's not necessarily something very bad, but it does call into question as to whether or not this may mean a delay for the delivery of the ship. Definitely something that we will have to watch for in the coming days to see where this story goes. Now, finally, I want to talk to you about the pricing on cruises. Now, how would you feel if the pricing of cruises increased even more? Now, we've all seen that the pricing of cruises overall has increased through 2021, 2022, and for 2023, at least from what we were paying back in 2019 and 2020. Now, apparently, there is pressure from Wall Street and investors for cruise lines to increase their pricing even more. They actually say that cruise lines are leaving money on the table. Now, they point out that cruise lines have announced that there's a lot of pent-up demand and that bookings are actually relatively strong for 2022 and beyond. Now, in particular, they point out the Oceanic cruise, the World cruise, that sold out in just 1 day. They also talk about the big 3 cruise lines. Carnival has said bookings are pretty strong. Royal Caribbean has said that bookings are up 30% in early 2021 versus November and December 2020. And Norwegian says that bookings are pretty strong across all of its 3 brands for 2022. Now, I'm going to let you know what I think about this, but I would like to hear from you. What the investors in Wall Street are saying is that cruise lines could really charge much more and that they should. So should prices go higher? I don't think they should. I think that there is a maximum that people are going to be willing to spend on cruises. And for people that were cruising 2 or 3 times a year, perhaps that will mean that they will cruise less. My biggest concern, though, is people that are new to cruising. I think that at that point, they might be looking at land vacations and all-inclusive resorts and comparing that to cruising, and cruising may not look like as good a value. As well, if we look at family travelers, family cruisers, we have to see that there still is value in cruising as well, which was always there before. Please let me know what you think. Do you think that the cruise lines could still increase the prices, and will we be cruising as much? Will that actually lessen the amount of people that will cruise, and will it make it harder for them to make inroads into the market? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you did like the video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it, and of course subscribe if you haven't done so already. We have a cruise tip video and a cruise news video every single week. Thanks so much for watching. Happy future cruising.